Yeah, still much the same. Still alive and kicking, still feisty. Seriously hot over here in the French Pyrenees, where every day is some kind of record breaker. We keep having the hottest day ever in recorded history, and then the hottest night in recorded history. And it's yeah, super intense. The
Yeah.
fire horse summer of 2026.
And that's a good place to start. So I'll just say, like we're recording this, we're not live, so we're recording, it I'll post it like tonight or tomorrow, like as soon as I possibly can, I'll get it up. But yeah, so Richard Stanley has been on the show before, and I'll link to that so you can check that out, talking about his amazing book, which is right here, which everybody should check out and have. Autoron Grail Hunter. We did a show on that already and went kind of deep into some of that. And so it is the Fire Horse Summer. So today we're going to catch up on, Blessed Solstice and the Midsummer. Well, Blessed Solstice and Midsummer, and kind of what that means that I think people have a pull to. They want to return to a more real existence. Like I found this amazing book. It's old, A Reverence for Wood. There actually was a book created, The Reverence for Wood, all about the history of, humanity and wood. I mean, that's kind of, I think, the vibe that's hitting the earth these days. We want to get, people feel they want to have a deeper connection. They have one, and now they want it to be deeper, and that's good. And so talking about, what the solstice means and what midsummer means and what the fire horse means, and then, of course, also catch up on some of the new stuff that Richard is doing because he's got new things in the pipe, as they say. So,
Well,
thank, yeah, good.
it's a pleasure being on. It's a particularly busy year, just because it is the fire horse year in the Chinese zodiac, and that's a leap year. It comes around only once every 60 years, and
Yeah.
it's generally a time of apocalyptic chaos. I think in ancient times they used to kill kids who were born in fire horse years because you knew that there were going to be trouble further on down the pike. But as it only
Mm.
happens once every 60 years, it's an irregular occurrence. And by whatever fluke, I was born in a fire horse year 60 years ago this year, 22nd of November, 66. So I'm a fire horse kid, and as a result, this is kind of my year. I think I was born to be on Earth in this type of apocalyptic and environmental chaos. It seems to somehow suit the cut of my clothes,
Oh, I get
which
it.
is and yeah, times of chaos are also times where immense change is possible. So I've been running at this year hard, and as a result, I've been yeah, doing a lot of things. I'm hoping to basically bring in not one, not two, but three feature films this year, which
Oh,
would be
yeah.
a hat trick. I'd be very pleased with.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. We'll have to definitely go into what some about what those are because you definitely keep, everybody posted on Facebook as to what's going on. Um, And so it is solstice and it is midsummer. And you did an amazing post on Facebook about that and kind of the meaning. You guys were up in, yeah, the post, you were up in Mount Segura. I always try to say that correctly. And you put some amazing pictures up there. And you mentioned a magical night for summer solstice at the ruins of Mount Segura. And you mentioned that when you were there, you were, praying for justice for the sisters and brothers out there, and during this fire horse year, and how the beginning of this fire horse year is gone, and then the second half, how it's kind of shaping up. And so, what I would just say, I sound a little bit new agey here. Like, what energies, like what has part one of the fire horse year brought, and what do you see? Happening in part two of the year because I've been reminded a lot recently of the 700-year prophecy uh, that the I'll let you say his name because you would say it better, but it's a Cathar prophecy. And we are now living in the time where this 700-year prophecy comes to fruition. And I'm feeling that, hey, it's happening, but it never happens how you would expect.
No, it surely doesn't, and it's complex territory, that's for sure. I mean, this refers to an individual named Wilhelm Bellybast, who
Boom.
was the Dernier Cathar, the last initiated Cathar, who was burned alive at the stake in Villarouge Termine in the summer of 1321. But allegedly not before cursing the Holy Roman Church and predicting the downfall of the current system, and the promising that after 7 centuries the oppression will end and the old ways will return. And in Bellybast's terms, the laurel will turn green again, the laurier reverdure,
Mm.
which is, I guess, a metaphor for the return of the old gods, the return of the old ways. I mean, the solstice and the different yeah, seasonal celebrations, I think, are a part of very ancient human culture. It's a very deep part of our souls and our beings, and marks a connection to, yeah, the seasons and to the land, which we've largely lost as we've moved into a more technological cosmopolitan era when a lot of folk are pretty much unaware of the cycles of the sun and the moon, and have become pretty disconnected from all of that. The so-called Cathars were a branch of Christianity, effectively a form of proto-Christianity, in that for the first 1,000 years or so after the death of Christ, there were all kinds of variant forms of Christ's teachings and of what Christianity represented, until the Holy Roman Church basically gained supremacy and effectively closed down or exterminated all other forms of Christianity, so that their version would be the only one handed down to us. But we could see from these earlier forms that there were different ideas floating around in early Christianity, than such as, reincarnation and this quasi-pagan veneration of or celebration of the different seasonal dates. Certainly here in Europe in ancient times, in the midsummer they would have lit a fire on pretty much every high mountaintop, and which I think would have been the same at Beltane with the bell fires. And some part of that tradition survives here in the Pyrenees, particularly in Catalonia, where they light a big fire on top of the highest mountain in the Pyrenees, on Mount Canigou, and then runners take the flame from one mountain to another, much like the Olympic flame. And that still happens here in the mountains every year. It's slightly distanced from the solstice. It's about 5 nights afterwards. They call it St. John's Night, which relates it to again to John the Baptist and this concept of pre-Christian Christianity, or whatever form of Christianity was going on before Christ even arrived. And we can tell as well that this was something that really upset the Holy Rollers back in the day, when in the early 13th century, the Holy Roman Pope Innocent III sanctioned a genocidal campaign against the heretics, and effectively wiped out the population in these mountains. But at this time, the Pope was also trying to encourage genocide in the East Bloc, and was diligently writing to the Tsar, trying to get the Tsar to join in and burn witches and heretics who are on Orthodox territory. And a letter from the Pope to the Tsar from the early 13th century survives. And in this letter, we can see that Pope Innocent III is particularly concerned with stamping out the practice of celebrating the summer solstice and St. John's Night, which he describes as a, quote, an unholy Hellenic rite that has no place in Christianity. And he urges the Tsar to basically stamp out any attempts to celebrate this occasion, or to gather on mountaintops and participate in whatever these rituals were. So we can see from these scraps of data that it was in fact a thing in in ancient times. And sadly, in the present day, it continues to be an issue. The desire by different folk to congregate in on mountaintops or in stone rings often is comes to conflict with local authorities with situations like the continuous backwards and forwardsing over access to Stonehenge and the
Mm.
tendency now for people to congregate at Avebury stones in the UK instead. And here in the south, a lot of negative attention has been brought to bear on Montsegur. Um, UNESCO basically has handed down an
Mm.
edict saying that they refuse to recognize any of the sites as UNESCO World Heritage Sites unless all reference to the so-called Cathars is removed from the signage and from Wikipedia and from the local museums. So I can see that there's still a counter force, something which is strong enough to basically bend UNESCO to its will. That is still determined to erase all continuity and erase any record of or trace of these previous practices. I imagine that this is exactly because of that so-called prophecy. I think someone out there, presumably connected with I would imagine conservative Christianity is um, is upset by the idea that the stuff might come back through the internet and that heresy might take hold again, and seems to be using the internet and cancel culture and the simple matter of rewriting wiki to try to basically turn back the tide and stop the heresy from reestablishing itself. That does seem to be what's been going on these last few years.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that kind of encouraged me to make certain that I was present and accounted for on Pog of months ago, this solstice.
Mm, what an amazing place to be at that moment. Well, any moment, but especially that moment. And on Facebook, on your post, you have pictures of you up there, and of course pictures of the view, and how the sun comes through the one window, which is amazing. And one of the things that you mentioned in the book, um, uh, in your book, Autorom, Grail Hunter, show people so they can see. But
Yeah,
there's
no, we haven't sold enough copies of that. People should pick it up. It's dense.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's dense. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of books, that come out that are like, they're okay, but this is one of the ones that, transcends being just okay. It's extraordinary. The paper is nice. It's smooth. It's better quality than it had to be. It's got, I really love books that have a lot of pictures. I got just because, especially something historic that has lots and lots of pictures. So this really takes you, on the journey as the book goes along. You actually see the places and the people, and these are usually pictures that I think would not be most people would not find them. It's something that you have to actually look for, and you've done a lot of time, spent a lot of time collecting them. So in this book, there's actually a chapter about Solstice there at Monsegur, and I wish I could find that page. I lost it. It starts with an amazing quote. That chapter is so amazing. Um, I'll try to find it while we're talking, but yeah, I'll find it. But anyways, it's chapter 12, I think. Let me see. Let's see. Chapter 12. Can I find it here? Chapter 12. Chapter 12. 12, 12, 12. There it is. 244. Okay. 244 in, here we go. Midsummer Solstice there at Montsegur. And it starts with a great quote. You cannot hope to penetrate the labyrinth by moving in a straight line, you know. And also there's another great quote. No, actually, this quote comes from somewhere else. Well, anyway, um, so here we
Yeah,
are,
well, that was
like,
just an excuse for the fact the book's not exactly in a linear format. Um,
exactly. Well,
but
nothing. I like that. That's a great chapter to throw that into. Yeah.
that's partly because the Yeah, the adventure here, and I guess the deepest part of the mystery for me is often to do with the layering of time, the way
Mm,
that different events have taken place in the same places or have mirrored each other down through the years, and it's a tricky mystery to comprehend because it constantly refers one backwards in time. Like in the present day, I got sucked into it by basically researching the life of Otto Rahn, the Nazi period Grail hunter. When I got started, it was not particularly clear whether Otto existed, so I had to
oh
prove
wow.
that he existed, and then to understand what he was up to. So it threw me further back into the 12th, 13th century, and each story kind of requires yeah the knowledge of another previous story unfolding along the same lines. So it's a tricky one. It doesn't happen in a quite in a linear timeline. There's at least
Yeah.
yeah, three chronologies going on at once.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think a person has to be able to, write many chapters within kind of a paradox, which is one book, and then, be hanging out in different timelines and jumping between them. And the book does kind of can take all of that, makes it linear enough to be a book, and then boom, there it is. And it is an extraordinary writing. And there's some pictures of, I think, Midsummer, some of the right there in the book.
Yeah, that's the keep of the castle of Montsegur,
Yeah,
and the castle is basically angled so precisely that somehow the east-facing embrasures in the castle wall are able to channel the first rays of the rising sun on the summer solstice to create these rectangular orange-red beams on the wall of the keep. It's
yeah.
impossible to know really what that was about. Although I assume that in ancient times it would have been super dark in there. I mean, the actual
Mm,
dungeon keep room itself looks like the most heavily fortified room in the castle, and has very very thick walls, and probably all of the ways that we get into it in the present era didn't exist back in the day. I think you could have probably only have accessed that room by coming through the courtyard, going up a flight of steps into the room above, through whatever guards were there, then into into the tower, and then down the steps into the what's almost like the panic room, or the
mm.
bunker of the castle, which is where the aristots collect the light. And I imagine those red rays would have been even
Yes.
more intense in the darkness. And I don't know whether there was something in the center of that room that formed the focus of those beams a long time ago.
Yeah.
Or what the purpose of it was, where but for whatever reason, it still ticks over. It still lights up in midsummer every year, and some part of it is still semi-functional, which hints at a an ancient science, and yeah, really a quite an advanced grasp of cosmology. One would
Yeah.
have to imagine that the people who built it, at the very least, knew the world was round, and yeah, had an accurate sense of yeah, the seasonal positions of the sun and the moon in relationship to planet Earth. The sun aligns with another embrasure at the far end of the tower at the opposite end of the year, and on the winter solstice. So
Mm.
it's not an accident. It's
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't know what light was like back then. It's something you mentioned in the book, there would have been that the sky must have been brilliant. I mean, we only can get glances of that now when we're somewhere truly remote, but um, it I always look at history, especially that far back, and I guess I'm a little bit, uh, crazy, as some people would say, but like we don't know what gravity was like back then. We don't know what light was like back then, what exactly the environment was like. So I mean, we know a lot, but we don't know everything, and so who knows what that light looked like coming back when it was actually when they engineered
yeah,
that. It's that's
we
kind
can
of a
make small
mystery.
guesses.
Yeah.
I mean, the winters were probably colder, and these days we've got a fog pollution, of a haze of smoke and exhaust fumes, even up here in the Pyrenees, and these tend to be to lie low on the land and on the horizon at sunrise. So it's definitely the view is a lot more occluded. And the thing I noticed, I guess I noticed this the most strongly when I was in Afghanistan, was when you're in a pre-industrial country, or in certainly at a high altitude, the light, it does seem to be sharper. The colors do seem to be brighter. The actual texture and the sheer brightness of the experience. And if I would imagine Tibet or the Himalayas is a similar thing, when you're suddenly in a place where there is no haze and the sun is hitting direct like that. There does seem to be a qualitative difference. So yeah, the romantic in me can imagine that, yeah, the back in the 13th century, before the fall of the castle, the sunlight might have fallen more sharply on the Saracen towers, and that the men might have been more handsome, and the woman might have been more beautiful. Um, it's just the way that one likes to imagine that, yeah, pre-medieval period.
Yeah, yeah. And the UNESCO and them not liking references to the Cathars, that, we're living in a time which is like I kind of consider it a bit of a masks off time. It seems that let's just say the evil of this world, or who the negative forces, who runs things, like the masks seem off right now. It's like they don't care. We're at this moment where I've never seen. I'm only 56, but like I've never seen like our world leaders quite so just masks off. They're really not trying to hide their intentions. There's so much going on. Like the Palantir, they made like their manifesto of how we should all be, how we should be like slaves and they should be gods and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like they're actually publishing this psycho stuff. And like why are we bombing that country? Well, we want their stuff. You mean, I mean, it's a really weird time. But, you know, one thing
yeah,
about
we're
that,
not just evil seeming, we're all the way evil.
yeah,
It's
yeah, masks are off, and like with that whole UNESCO and then the Cathars, that's too precise. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's too precise. What is like? It's like what's up their butt? You know what I mean?
yeah, it's creepy. It's actually been coming quite a long time as well.
mm,
In that the different pieces of this attack on Catharism effectively have been maneuvered into place over a period of years. It's been going on since yeah, way before 2021, which is when the so-called prophecy fell due. And it's kind of using a kind of academic pedantry to achieve its ends, because it's all based on the argument that the so-called Cathars didn't identify as Cathars. So this therefore is teased down to an argument saying that the Cathars didn't exist as such. But and that runs real deep, because back in the day, I don't think, of course, anyone did identify as heretics or Cathars.
yeah,
The folk back in the day just thought they were ordinary people.
yeah,
The much of the persecution over the last 7 centuries has been about the the dominant oppressor force attempting to define, identify, and stigmatize what they're up against. And I mean, when it got started, when the crusade first happened, the very first city they came to was Beziers. And when the Crusaders attacked Beziers, the religious prelate in charge, Aunau Mauri, was famously asked how to distinguish between Christians and heretics. And he came back with the famous line, "Kill them all, God will recognize his own." So everyone in the town of Beziers was massacred, every man, woman, child, and animal. And not a satisfactory arrangement, because the town was torched and the dogs of war didn't get paid. And basically, by the time they came to Carcassonne, the next great city that was taken by the Crusaders, they changed it up and decided to let everyone go free, provided they were all stripped naked and herded out of the town naked, wearing only their sons, and left all of their belongings behind, so they could actually partition up the belongings and pay the dogs of war. But this wasn't satisfactory either. So it was really only like a year, exactly a year later, on the first anniversary of Béziers at the fall of the castle of Minerve, when they came up with the bright idea of separating them, separating heretics from so-called good Christians. And then at Minerve, they burnt the first heretics. They burned about 300 people there. And this is
Mm.
the set the template of like, okay, let's identify the weird ones, the heretics. We'll separate them from the rest of the population, and then we'll burn them, which was an idea that kind of stuck around for centuries once it had once it had come up and kind of set the course. It was still another generation or so before the Inquisition arose, and they started to work out a system of bureaucracy, a system of interrogation and questioning to try to identify these other ones, the heretics, the strange ones, the ones who are trying to get. So it took a while for this concept of a Cathar or even of the heretic to arise, and for them to be able to define what it was that they were trying to exterminate. But now in the
Mm.
present day, different academics and online pedants have argued that because back in the day, the so-called Cathars didn't call themselves Cathars, we therefore should not be calling them Cathar castles or the land of the Cathars or the songs of the Cathar wars. The and papers basically arguing this have been filed in various academies to the point, and Wiki's been manipulated to the point that it's finally sort of capsized reality. UNESCO is saying, no, 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 you can't put that on the sign in the parking lot. And you can't you can't say that because it's not really true. There's similar things going on in Glastonbury, where
Mm.
UNESCO are refusing to sign off on Glastonbury Abbey, and so long as any reference remains to Arthur Guinevere and the Glastonbury Cross, which
Oh my gosh.
occupies a similar place as being technically not real history, and thus has floated over into mythology. So UNESCO won't underwrite it as a World Heritage Site because it's kind of goofy or woo woo. But the folk in Glastonbury have thus far given UNESCO much shorter shrift over trying to clean up and basically remove the magical elements from the signage and
Mm.
from the way that these sites are presented. But it's definitely a current issue. And
Wow.
likewise, there's been a campaign over the last 10 years in particular to effectively discredit and attack pretty much all of the folk writing about Catharism. It's almost everyone who's really written in depth on the subject has been attacked.
Mm.
And it's often because they certainly are a very strange bunch of individuals. I mean, I wrote Otto Rahn, Grail Hunter, about Otto, but yeah, Otto's affiliation with the Ahnenerbe SS and Nazi Germany, of
Yeah.
course, discredits everything that he has to say, and that he's considered to be a crank or a marginal figure, but can't be you know taken seriously academically. Pretty much all of the so-called neo-Cathars have come into that same problem of being effectively rejected by academia. And different accusations have been made online against modern day Cathar historians, notably Anne Brennan in the last couple of years, and several of my friends, Annika Corman a few years ago, unfairly attacking these folk, often claiming that they're promulgating Nazi propaganda or anti-Semitism, which is not the case. But this was what led to the closure of the Center of Cathar Studies, the Centre d'Etudes Qatar in Carcassonne about 1 year ago. There has been a steady snippy, typically 21st century campaign against Catharism, which has been manipulating the internet and coming at it from all kinds of different angles to the point where reality is now being rewritten. Distressingly, a lot of folk are going along with it. I see that people are now doubting whether the Albigensian Crusade truly happened. Also, are kind of starting to buy into the myth that the Inquisition wasn't so bad, that all those crimes were exaggerated by the Protestants and were actually anti-Catholic slurs, and it wasn't as bad as all that. So there's been a very strong tranche of kind of Albigensian Crusade denial going on, which is kind of gaining the upper hand.
Yeah, and it seems like we're like the 1300s have returned, and that's where we're fighting this a battle. And I do think it matches in some ways. Just intuitively, I do feel that 700-year prophecy. And sometimes when somebody makes that 700-year prophecy or something like that, it was something already scheduled. So a person could say, well, it's his curse. And you might say, well, no, he just saw what was going to happen anyway. So that curse, as we call it, is to me also most likely a natural cycle. You know what I mean? So there's much behind that. And so it's funny how, or I should say tragic, how now something as I would say innocent and as worthy of scholarly study as the Cathars, well, crap, along those lines, the Abeneva SS as well. People should understand what that was. It answers a lot of questions. People like most people don't know what the Ananaba is, other than it sounds cool. But for UNESCO to be so precise with Cathars, I that it's silly. That's just a name. It's a pointer. I don't think that. Yeah, obviously they have an intent, behind that. But and so here we see now when I mentioned like masks off, like it's the fire horse year, and you're a fire horse kid. I like that. You should put that in your bio, fire horse kid. Um, we have
Well,
hex.
it's just a one-off. Unfortunately, this is the only fire horse here I'm going to have
Uh,
because
ma-
I'd have to live to be 120 years old to be able to do this again. So
uh,
I'm not sure that's likely. It's a one-off. I only get one fire horse here to burn.
Yeah. Well, definitely making the best of it, as part two shows up. So like our Secretary of War here in the U.S., like Pete Hegseth, this guy, he's like our military is now freaked out. We have a lot of people kind of calling or emailing, contacting the conscientious objector center. It's like it's kind of it's an organization. It's not government affiliated. That helps people who have, in the military who become conscientious objectors and they want out, And so we have a lot of the soldiers are contacting because now they're being told that they are on a crusade, and this is really coming down to the ranks, and people are getting lectures now about, we should be really happy and honored to die for our greatest ally because we got to get this, It's like Judaism has their plan of what's going to happen. Like I say, Zionist Christians have their idea what's going to happen, but you should really be proud to play your role. You know what I mean? You should be happy. Go die. And they're saying, no, 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 I never signed up for a crusade. And then we look at our Secretary of War, this guy, like he likes to take pictures with his shirt off, and he has like he has one of the things he has like on a bicep or whatever. It's a quote from the Inquisition. It's something like "So be it" or something like that. It's
Yeah,
a
it's full creepy. You guys are in serious
yeah.
trouble.
I know. It's
I
like
mean, very, very, very fucking creepy is all I could say. Unfortunately, has been coming for years as well.
yes.
I mean, I first ran into this kind of Malachi way back in 1999 when I was on the
Mm,
island of Haiti, in Port-au-Prince when there was a regime change. The U.S. decided to remove President Aristide, and suddenly this armed American support group showed up to take control of the country. And yeah, what I noticed immediately when I met with Colonel Walton Walker Jr., the head of the Armed American Support Group, was that he was heavily affiliated with the Baptist missionary movement. All of the command officers were connected to churches back home who were supporting them very heavily. It was obvious that people who shared similar views or were part of the same churches had also been promoted up the command structure. And the level of religious discourse at a command level, even in 1999, was alarming. Um, the uh,
Yes.
the um, the Baptist missionary movement that they were supporting in insane detail had as it was the conservative Baptist had as their symbol the Red Crusader cross on a white shield. The guys that I spoke to were all proud of the fact that they were Crusaders, and
Hmm.
yeah, fully embraced that. Yeah, that iconography. It was without irony.
Yeah.
That was even before the clash of civilizations and in 9/11 began. But yeah, the extent to which apocalyptic conservative Christianity is embedded within the armed forces is certainly alarming.
Yeah.
All the Third Temple guys are crazy who
Oh,
want to,
yes.
yeah, yeah, to attempting to reproduce the circumstances for the coming of the next Messiah. They're all
Yeah.
looking with their beady eyes at poor old El Aqsa Mosque, which the Dome of the Rock, which stands right in the middle of this malign focus of yeah of attention. Um, Personally, I think all three of the big patriarchal monotheisms, Christianity, Orthodox Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, are all doing really badly right now and are setting
Yes.
a very poor example to the rest of the world. That as this monarchy over red heifers and
Hmm.
yeah, the second coming kind of drags us to the brink of an apocalyptic war. I find myself increasingly inclined towards Great Cthulhu, towards Father Dagon, Mother Hydra, the Great Water Lizard, and yeah, non-human elemental deities. And I've been, yeah, I guess I'm getting an allergic reaction to yeah, patriarchal monotheists.
Oh, I understand. I understand. Yeah, I mean, more so than ever, the stage is set, and the, fundamentalist, view of such things. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really a churchgoer. I certainly have a Bible here in the house along with many other spiritual books and such. So, I mean, but I don't know. It gets me. I've always thought that, well, that's just a cover story for all the evil happening. I don't really think anybody thinks, God was a real estate agent that gave anybody land 3,000 years ago. That's silliness. But it's a great
Well,
cover story for evil to hide behind. I mean, like why, no Bible said that, Gaza belonged to anybody, nor Palestine. And the thing is that, let's say masks are off. You've got, I forget who's like, oh gosh, Trump's son-in-law. I forget his name now. Jared Kushner. Yeah, he's like, hey, look, it's great real estate. We can't ignore that, you know? And yeah, it's going to be the next Dubai. That's their plan, at least. So, yeah,
yeah.
we're back in 1300. The stage is set. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's yeah, Indiana Jones touches on unfortunately in these kind of times, Grail research is a very dangerous thing to be
Yes.
involved in.
Hmm.
Which the Rand book shows how Rand's Grail research was effectively co-opted by the SS and how the Nazis tried to use it as a pretext for genocide.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing now. Is all I can say. I'm sure I'm speaking well out of turn, but
It's
frankly,
fine.
there is no archaeological proof of any of the claims made about either the life of Christ or Solomon's Temple. We've
Yeah.
got virtually nothing. It's a story. In terms of El Aqsa Mosque, the Dome of the Rock, all I can say is that the original Raiders of the Lost Ark has it right. They're digging in the wrong place.
Yeah.
It's hate to say it, but nobody's supposed to know what's down there. But there's not meant to be any archaeological work thanks to some treaty that Mushi Dayan signed back in the 1970s. But that's not true, because in fact everyone knows what's down there, and there's been secret scans and explorations of the Dome of the Rock, and what's down there ain't what they think. It isn't what they say. I mean, straight up, I think it's a Roman era construction, built on top of a uh, what would be possibly a temple to Asherah originally, a Canaanite structure, because the Canaanite temple was there. The Canaanites worshipped the goddess and worshipped Asherah on mountaintops and high places. This was probably precisely the reason why the Jewish elders would not have built the Temple of Solomon had the Temple of Solomon even existed on that site, because I'm sure they would have considered it to be unclean, being that
Mhm.
it's actually a Canaanite site dedicated to the goddess. In terms of the old issue, whom does the Grail serve and who's God and cup is it? So
Yeah.
there's an argument to be made, but the Grail research gets hooked in these ways. They'd like to prove ancient Jewish usage of of Temple Mount for their own reasons, just like the Nazis and the SS cooked up their reasons for what they wanted from Otto's research. So one starts out with the best of intentions and delving into these what seem to be myths, but they have weird consequences in the actual present. And
Yeah.
there are powers in the world which presumably are strong enough to bend an organization like UNESCO to their will, who have a vested interest in keeping certain sections of history under wraps, and so we should not know about things like that aforementioned Canaanite temple, or the true age of the construction on top of the mountain at Montsegur.
Yeah. And yeah, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. It so often is, you know. Um, and it does seem like so we have our fire horse year, which is, you know, a powerful thing. And it does seem that we've had the first part of the year, now we have the solstice, midsummer, we have the second part of the year, and I kind of get this feeling. It reminded me when I was reading your post on Facebook that maybe this mid-year, this midsummer is like the tower in the tarot deck. It feels like there's a fracture that uh, I just get this feeling that when it comes to the 700-year prophecy, and now this year, the midsummer, it seems like old alliances of darkness are breaking. That like we're seeing it may be a difficult time through 2030, 2035, but it seems like we're in a that's the vibe right now. The tower, it's shattered. People are falling out of it. You know, we have events like you know, Pete Hegseth. He's like, I got my Crusader tattoos. Check me out. You know, everyone should be happy to die for the Crusade. Um, and you've got even things like what used to be the Wagner Group, which is now called Africa Corps. Maybe not the best name, actually, out of Russia, protecting Mali in Africa from, you know, colonialism. Basically, they're kind of getting their country back. You've got the you know, China and BRICS making the Silk Road 2.0. You've got, you know, so much going on, and it just seems like this is the moment where I think we're going to see even more. I think the first part of this year was small potatoes compared to what we have going on, because um, even down to the president here, you know, Mr. Trump, going after the Pope, and the Pope is the first American Pope. He's from like Chicago, I think. And it's the first actual pope that's from America, and you got Trump going after him, saying like, you know, I made him, he owes me, he's soft on crime, or some crap, like ridiculous things he says. And not that I have great reverence for the Pope, but still, it's the Pope, and it's weird. So Do you think there's kind of do you think part two of this year is going to really make part one look tame?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very intense. I mean, certainly, yeah, my path is going to be a very intense time from yeah now through to the end. But it's been a crazy hectic year for me from the very beginning. I mean, reference to the Pope, you got there's also going to be a Dalai Lama issue soon because the
Really?
current Dalai Lama is going to wear out, and they're going to need a retread. And
Ooh.
the Chinese are going to try and foist their Dalai Lama, selected by their Panchen Lama, onto the world. The
Oh,
current Dalai Lama has already predicted the next true Dalai Lama will come from the West. So there's going to be
really?
like a golden child moment where we're going to end up with a Western Dalai Lama and the Chinese Dalai Lama, like with two with a rift in Buddhism. So that's just
Uh, that's
another
and there'll be a Jewish Dalai Lama out of Israel.
another thing that's going on. Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
I've been leaning pretty far into sorcery this year because there's no reason not to, and it kind of works for me. And I figure, okay, well, no time like the present. It didn't quite go the way that I was imagining in the first half of the year, so I ended up being the writer and principal bad guy on a Winnie the Pooh movie, on
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 3, in which I was a woozle. In fact, I was not only the creator of Woozle Circus and Toon Carnival.
Oh, uh-oh, froze up. Let's see. Hopefully you come back.
I actually,
Uh-oh. I think we froze up. Hopefully it comes back. Hmm. Oh, dropped. Okay. So there we go. I think Richard's back. Okay. I think Richard is
yeah,
back. Yeah. So
yeah,
you,
yeah.
you yeah, so you were Winnie the Pooh.
I was Balthazar. I got to put a bullet in Winnie. I
Oh
got
my
to put a
gosh.
bullet in the bear. Yeah, I hope to achieve lasting notoriety as the man who shot Winnie the Pooh. But I do get to shoot the bear. Spoiler alert. But for whatever reason, I ended up being a sort of humanized rat, a woozle.
A
For
woozle.
yeah. The one thing that the creatures of the Hundred Acre Wood are afraid of are the woozles, and
Mm,
in this one we find out why.
mm.
So I found myself cast as a woozle, which was mad, and shooting knights on a very low budget production, and all the stuff is being shot for almost no money at the very bottom end of the system, which is kind of why I like it. It
Yeah,
was good
yeah.
to be back on the ground. This was shooting at the tail end of spring. It was all nights. It was raining fucking ice and hail a lot of the time. Very filthy British weather.
Mm,
And shooting in places like Ashdown and East Grinstead, close to the real life Hundred Acre Wood. And I got a chance to revisit England and to do so in Woozle form and to see how the place was going. And after the sheer carnage of Woozle Circus, because it's a very violent, very gory punk gesture of a movie with just one atrocity after another, um,
mm.
I managed to close a deal on the necessary to finish the film I've been shooting in Middle England, which has thus far been something like an underground movie. This is Steel Donkeys,
Yeah.
which yeah, manifesting in Wolverhampton. Now thanks to yeah, woozling hard in the first half of the year, we now have the wherewithal to stage the beast, and the fight is on. We are bringing Cynthia Rothrock to the steel mill in Wolverhampton to face a demon drawn out of Afro-Caribbean mythology. Steel donkeys are an aspect of Bajan mythology and are drawn from a practice known as obeah. As far as I can tell, there's never been a movie based on obeah before. People tend to ignore it with voodoo on one side and Santeria and a bunch of other practices. So yeah, steel donkeys are a thing. In fact, that was what donkey shows you screaming outside a moment ago, and
A
um,
little
and we're
sync, yeah.
bringing. I first heard about it way back in the 1980s. It was in a dim late 80s drug deal gone wrong, where I was sitting waiting and waiting and waiting with a bunch of other folk who were also waiting and waiting. And one was one was a West Indian yardie. The conversation had turned to whether anyone believed in the supernatural or not, or whether such things were real. And the guy I was talking to didn't know whether he believed in the other stuff, but he definitely believed in steel donkeys because he had heard them when he was a kid. And when I pushed him on it, why he called them steel donkeys, he came back with the line, because they sound like a fucking car accident.
Whoa,
Um,
okay.
the level of fear that he showed towards the idea it caught my interest. So now I'm yeah bringing it down. Cynthia Rothrock will confront the beast in the steel mill in late July. We're opposite of Pooh Bear. We're going to be shooting days in a blacked out
Mm.
steel mill in
Yeah.
Preston Wolverhampton in the tail end of July, early August. In what's probably going to be the hottest summer in recorded British history. So I imagine it's going to be super intense. We have, of course, very little money because we're operating kind of outside of the system almost, in that this is not owned by Netflix or any studio. This is an authentic,
Yeah.
yeah, grassroots bootstrap production. So it's going to be an interesting scenario. I mean, I'm super happy to be able to basically bring Cynthia to Wolves to begin with, and also it's a certain point in Cynthia's career. I mean, and I think it's an opportunity to do something legendary, to
Yeah.
do something which yeah, really puts the shine or a spin on what we've seen before. So I'm very, very happy with that. But I know that there's yeah, a chance there to yeah, to do something which is real. Yeah, Cynthia's talents as a warrior, as a martial artist are completely real. She's not a VFX or an actor who's doing it in front of green screen. She's yeah, walking proof of what martial arts can do. I mean, I think she's a truly incredible woman.
Mm.
So, and I guess this is my gift to 2026. I would hope that Steel Donkeys as a whole will function as a little snapshot of this moment in time,
Oh,
um,
wow. Yeah.
poised headlong on the edge of the apocalypse.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So you mentioned you started, to do more of an active practice in sorcery, and so your first, I guess spell got you to be a woozle, but now, number two is amazing. So,
Yeah, I'm finding that the Fire Horse here is favoring like exploding cartoon characters, steel donkeys, iron dogs, teddy bears with chainsaws. I don't know why that is, but I'm accepting it. It's
yeah.
there's a certain kind of chaos that seems to be playing well in the in this current weird era. I mean, harking back to Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3. I mean, this is the third entry in a franchise. The first film was pretty ropey, was shot for virtually nothing. I think 20 or 30 grand, and allegedly pulled in around 7 million worldwide. I mean, basically did better business than anything that I've ever done. And why it is that something as macabre and ridiculous as a teddy bear with a chainsaw is just knocks everything out of the park says something about this moment in our culture, which
Yeah. It does, it does. Yeah, but timely is timely, and then timeless is timeless, and sometimes they both happen at the same time, you know. So I'm hoping that for, steel donkeys because if it is kind of, especially an analogy of our time, um, it's got to be, it's really got to be something. So this seems like the moment. So the second part of the fire horse year, you're striking the iron when it's hot, striking the iron
yeah,
donkey when it's
we
hot.
got to
Yeah.
seize it. Yeah, we're going to be shooting all day, every day, and it's going to be crazy and brutal. So yeah, it's and we're as good as the game. So we whatever happens next depends on how well we perform. So
Mm,
that's I guess the odds that we've accepted.
yeah.
And now we'll see how events unfold on the ground in Wolves. But
Yeah.
it's certainly going to be very interesting. We also have the participation of KK Downing and um, from Judas Priest, and part of the deal is that in order to yeah use the mill, I also have to shoot a free music video for KK's Priest. So
Oh,
that's going to
wow.
happen. This so the whole thing is going to unfold at this what I think of as a nexus of the three M's of martial arts, metal, and magic.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Three
Martial
things
arts,
that don't
metal, magic. Yeah.
three things that don't normally come together. In this case, and of course, the magic's putting a certain Afro-Caribbean Bajan spin on it by invoking the steel donkey.
Whoa, invoking the steel donkey. That's amazing. Martial arts, metal, magic, invoking the steel donkey. That's, well, there you go. I mean, I can't imagine not seeing that. And it's timely. And so you mentioned like it is time to strike the iron, while it's hot. And I do believe that, um, what do you, how would I put it? So we're hitting, part two of this year, this fire horse year, and you're mentioning that it seems that like the way to approach it, the way to be successful, the way to play your role that you have internally, that you feel, is to get in that forge and I guess heat up the sword and strike it when it's hot. I mean, just this is the would that be your advice for the second part of this year to get Judas Priest on reality and beat it like a hot sword?
Yeah, absolutely. That would totally be my advice. But at the same time, I've got a license because I am a fire horse. I was born in 1966.
Yes.
This isn't going to happen again. Anyone else might
Mm.
get their hands blown off. But I'm feeling cocky enough that I think I might be able to harness some of those wild energies and bend them into something worth having. So I'm
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
I'm on full full charge mode, and on my way to the steel mill where I'll be spending the next 2 months. And fully ready to duke it out with whatever's waiting for us, and to try and pull down and manifest those forces. And
Yeah.
just as I think I was a good woozle. And I think the Toon Carnival was such a crime against reality earlier on in this year that it managed to land the deal on donkeys. So I'm very much hoping that if I'm good to my game and I'm able to drive home the blade, give Cynthia the rousing send off she deserves, that I will then be able to land a third one
Yeah.
because the plan is still to end this year back in Rhode Island in Providence in Lovecraft country, and to be
Mm,
able to get back to the Cthulhu mythos, the the Lovecraft franchise. That's the full intent, and I think at this point in time that's actually achievable. It's
mm,
like jumping from one alligator to another.
yeah.
There's a way in which that might happen. I'm very intent to get Lovecraft back onto the into the spotlight to decancel man.
Yes. Yeah. And what would that look like? I mean, in Rhode Island, like what's that project look like if you can say, if it's not top secret.
I've got to be a little bit
And that's fine
hazy
too. Hmm.
because I don't want any of this data to go into the wrong hands. But the plan, which has been in place over a number of years now, is has
Mm,
long been to try to establish a base for creating quality Lovecraft movies in Rhode Island, based out of Providence, because it's always been my issue that Lovecraft is primarily writing about the places that he knew and loved, and is clearly fixated on the New England landscape. Yeah, we always adapt his movies and shoot them in Portugal, in Galicia, in San Diego, in South Africa, in places which are very far away from true Lovecraft country. To the best of my knowledge, actual Lovecraft country has never been represented on screen, and I would like to actually see that. I would like to, see a version of Arkham that actually looks like Arkham, where people actually, sound like they live in New England, and I would like the Wakely family and the hick rustic locals to sound like swamp like Yankees, not like Southerners. So it would be nice to have a Lovecraft country actually be Lovecraft country. So to this effect, I've spent a lot of time basically building bridges to the tax department and the film commission and the different forces in Rhode Island with the intention of mounting yeah a prestigious Lovecraft project that would show off the New England in I think in an elegiac and poetic as well as hopefully a mind-wrenchingly creepy manner. So I do want to take Lovecraft home. I spent a lot of time wandering around New England and finding my way into the edges of Lovecraft stories, and it's still there.
wow.
There's still pieces of those stories which are there to be. I mean, I recommend the little 17th century graveyard in on College Hill, near where the man was born and lived. There's a tomb, a vault, which where Edgar Allan Poe used to sit a long time back. Poe had the hots for a lady who lived opposite the graveyard, and because he was truly creepy, he would sit at a distance where he could see her home and write rhyming couplets. He wasn't allowed to by her parents to actively meet with her. Lovecraft sought out that spot so that he could sit in the same place where Poe sat. And so you can see a little scuff mark on the vault itself because other people have done the same. And if one parks one's ass right there, and looks out at the view of of the 17th century graveyard and the big tree growing out of the graves in front of you, you were basically looking at the opening paragraph of The Unnamable,
Oh,
describing
wow.
the graveyard in Arkham. So there are bits of those stories and things which you can accurately source to real places in real life. I mean, in a another example is that both of Lovecraft's parents died in the insane asylum, died in Butler Memorial Hospital in Providence. The mum lived much longer. As a kid, Lovecraft would spend time visiting the mum frequently in the grounds of the mental hospital. If Butler isn't the original Arkham Asylum, I don't know what is. I mean, it's weird how it crossed over into the Batman DC universe, so that we now associate it with the place where the Joker is held. But I would wager that the mental hospital where Lovecraft's parents died is the actual Arkham Asylum. So yeah, there's pieces of the originals are still there to be found, and I think it would be a joy for me to create a film set in Arkham, which actually attempts to portray Arkham how I at least imagine it might have been.
Oh, it's amazing. And that's something that speaks to me because I've for a long time believed that place matters. And I think it's not something that crosses everyone's mind, but uh, you know, one of the things that this country, the US, has been too rapidly losing is a respect of place, you know, uh, and everything becomes sort of generic. It becomes one great big strip mall, one bunch of square houses, and stuff like that. But, like here, wandering this country, especially in the South and such like that, and the East as well, especially in the East where things are so compressed and old, you feel place. I mean, a place has a intelligence and life of its own. Place affects what happens there, of course, and so that'll be amazing. I'm sure that that project will happen because um, I think that's a renaissance. So amongst one of the many things that would come from that, I think I'd hope would be a renaissance of place that people might, watch that and realize that a place has an energy and oftentimes a sacredness, oftentimes a darkness, but it's there and we have to respect place or we lose something. Well, we lose a lot if we don't respect place because it can harm us and it can enhance us. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think that light and that darkness is very much depending on, I guess, the eyes of through which we view it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I mean, for those of us, for the folk who are afraid of the so-called supernatural and yeah, the other world, in horror fiction, for instance, place is primary. I mean,
Mm.
the in every great horror movie or ghost story, you wouldn't have The Shining without the Overlook Hotel or the Amityville Horror without the Amityville House.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the place or the location is super important in this kind of story or this kind of movie, which is something that yeah Lovecraft understood well. It's very in America. It's as with both those examples, they usually end up with this deep down pseudo excuse that the whatever it is, the hotel or the cemetery is on top of a Native American burial ground, or
Yes.
there's some trace of yeah of guilt or some kind of original sin underlying the spooky place and that fear of the place, which is yeah an odd thing. It's something that folk who I guess have gone through the colonial experience feel more strongly. The white man's fear of Africa.
Mm.
The Australians' natural fear of Uluru and Aboriginal culture and stuff. That the sense that the place might not be on your side.
Oh.
Yeah, we walk. It's the idea that folk in England and America are less are less connected to perhaps, but Yeah, I think it's also to do with one's alignment to that force in some funny way. Like,
Yes.
I was terrified of Montsegur for the first few years.
Oh, wow.
I mean that comes across, I think, in the first chapter of the Ran book, where we run the electrical storm in the castle, and at that point we were literally groveling on the ground in terror and panic, and ran away as fast as we could. So the relationship definitely went from intimidating to the comfortable relationship that I now have with the place. Always now very, very happy to be back in the castle. Every time I get back to the top of the mountain, I embrace the first buttress and feel the warmth of the stone against me, and it's good
Mm,
to I always feel like I'm home. But at the beginning, it felt truly terrifying.
wow. Wow. Gosh. Yeah. And that's the and yeah, the relationship to place, and I think that's something that it's good to cultivate, I mean, like here in the desert, it's strange that we find ourselves here in the desert for a little while, but in the middle of the Sonoran Desert, it's strange, but there is, even though it's a very hostile environment, um, there is a strange drawing to it. Like the saguaros, the big, the tall cactuses, they're like transceivers between the earth and the heavens and like between dimensions. And you walk out in the desert and you find endless pottery broken up from, civilizations that have been here before. And so like people living here in this hostile environment, which was not as hostile 100 years ago, you could say. Um, but still, it's this big question mark, like why would anybody ever be here? But at the same time, there has always been people here. Like we feel like until we actually atone with this place and learn from it, like until we experience what it has to teach us, like why we're here, we're sort of stuck here. You know? Yeah. And so, are there writing projects that you're working on? I think you were
Um,
talking Hamilton White, and you were going to work on a new like Crusade Against the Grail. I think I heard mentioned once, or
Well, there's a long-term writing project that I was hoping to land this year, and it's unfortunate, but the Firehorse year has gotten in the way of it. I'm too busy now trying to find out ways of getting my coverage on these fight scenes within the short time that I have to be able to concentrate on the magnum opus that we had in mind. But I do owe I am contractually obligated to eventually deliver a manuscript on the subject of Shambhala. And this inquiry into the existence of Shambhala is ongoing, but I haven't got the opportunity this summer to actually go there because
Hmm.
basically to complete the quest, we really should go to like the Gobi Desert, and then there's this tug of war between China and Russia, who both claim to have Shambhala. And, Russia basically claims that Shambhala is in Altai, and, whereas the Chinese situated much more down towards Kailash. But I haven't been to those places yet. I was hoping to
Wow.
get there this year. And so it's a weird, spooky set of affairs. The Russian component are very, very friendly. No, no, come now. There'll be no problem. So,
Uh,
which is scary.
Yes.
Um, I've hesitated on booking that flight this year. And but yeah, I'm intrigued as to what the hell is going on in Altai. To seeing some of that stuff close up. At the same time, clearly, it's as with this aforementioned coming changeover of the Dalai Lama. That's there's
Mm.
stuff going on in China and Tibet too. And obviously in the prophecy, there's some Kalki avatar, the last avatar of Vishnu is meant to arise from Shambhala and lead the legions of Shambhala against the corrupt kings of the earth and bring about the end of the Kali Yuga, the long dark age, and the beginning of the Satya Yuga, the golden age. So they've got their own apocalyptic messianic thing going on when a similar way to what's happening in Jerusalem and Temple Mount, yeah,
Yeah.
playing out between China, Russia, and in Mongolia regarding, I guess, spiritual legitimacy and at where these secret rulers of humankind are supposedly based. Which, if they are, if there is a an actual Shambhala, of course, as with any of these things, I would sure like to have a word with the powers that be. It never hurts to actually go and check these things out uh, just to see what's really going on out there. I mean, it was Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society always insisted it was in the Gobi Desert, and
Mm.
and I had a previous tilt at this in back in the day in Afghanistan because there's a an argument that could put Shambhala down in the Hindu Kush in Afghanistan.
And so Shambhala, that like that's more than I ever knew about it. Just now, what you said, Um, so yeah, that's definitely a book to be written. And while you are creating that, maybe it gets going again at the end of the year. But is that something that's going to be strictly a book, or would that sort of be a documentary as well along
Well,
the
I'd love to
way?
shoot a documentary if anyone was mad enough to actually screen it.
There you go. Yeah.
Because obviously, if you're going to do something that stupid as to go try and look for a lost mythical city, or at least open the door on whether or not such a said lost mythical city actually exists, it would be obviously make for a good documentary. And what Hamilton and myself are finding is that in this current era where we're flooded with effectively AI slop
Yes.
with any number of photorealistic images of any kind of like alien archaeology, technology, etc. It's difficult for folk to care. I mean,
Mm.
and real weird stuff it doesn't seem to have an awful lot of currency in the face of yeah, what's going on out there. I mean, Hamilton can't get any real traction on half the things that he's got locked in his vault over in Bromsgrove. And there are a number of yeah, alarming items in there, which under normal circumstances should have spawned television documentaries, books, and yeah, far greater public interest. I mean, an example being there's sonar scans matched to satellite photographs showing geometric structures on the sea floor of Galicia and southern Portugal. Artifacts that have been dredged from these locations, at least which include at least two bits that seem to be electrical components along the lines of Baghdad batteries, kind of um, s- stones with metal cores and coiled wires. Just yeah, crazy stuff. That effectively clutters up Hamilton's workbench and tabletop, and it gathers dust without honestly changing the world any. So
Yeah.
we'd see if anyone cared about a Shambhala documentary. I'm sure we would yeah, attempt to shoot it along the way. I mean, part of my plan for the Shambhala trip is also I'd very much like to largely recruit a team of comic book characters. Yeah, I'm very rooted in 1930s pulp. And one of the things that I like about Hamilton is he's a character. I mean,
Oh,
if a close
yes.
examination of Hamilton's photographs will indicate that his wardrobe hasn't actually changed in the yeah, throughout the entire process. Even the plaid shirt is the same. He's still drawn exactly the same way now as he was like 10, 15 years ago when I met him. And yeah, I do appreciate that. Plus this whole yeah, collector of rare and yeah, unlikely religious relics. Everything about Hamilton seems to come from a 30s pulp or a comic book rather than from the real world. So I think
Oh,
if we're going
wow.
to get to Shambhala, I'd like to put together a group of people who are likely to get there.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. Oh, well, I have a feeling I have a feeling there'll be a documentary along the way. I think so. It's just too good for there not to be, you know. And you think about it, like, you know, what the world has interest in. If there was a bunch of young extreme sports guys like mountain biking to Shambhala, that'd be a documentary, you know. Red Bull would fund it, you know. So maybe having that unique angle will create interest, you know. I mean, I like
Beats
that.
me. We can't do what Hamilton did on his initial shows on Lost Relics of the Knights Templar. They kind of married it with Top Gear. So they'd always be driving an expensive, glamorous car, which you can't really do in Altai. But yeah,
Wow.
I think yeah they married the format to Top Gear and Antiques Roadshow, and basically with occult artifacts, and it proved to be a very successful format.
Yeah, yeah. It's just getting that angle. I think it'll come. I think the comic book characters are, you know, I don't know. I see it happening. So I mean, in a way, Shambhala, that's almost like a hunt for the Grail as well. It's this, you know, mythical place with mythical powers and story, but just it's like the Grail. No one's exactly sure what it is or where it is. So it kind of follows a
Yeah,
theme.
it felt like it was a good way to go. Also, I wanted to, with all due respect, get away from Otto and the Nazis because
Yeah,
I find them kind of depressing.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
so I
Yeah,
wanted to. I figured whatever theme we're going to research, let's try and take it in a different direction. And
oh
this
yeah.
journey to the east, should I be fortunate enough to get through the Firehorse year and basically make a decent fist out of what's going to happen in the steel mill and beyond, then maybe if I'm still alive next year, a journey to the east might be on the cards.
Yeah. Well, hopefully when you know, find the secret, you know, entrance to Shambhala, there's not a bunch of Nazis waiting for you. You're like,
This
no.
is always the problem in this world. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we
Yeah.
find with grails and lost treasures is that the moment you get close to them, there's a counter force, which, as Ran puts it in the title of his book, Crusade Against the Grail, the forces of darkness perennially lay siege to the Grail. The fallen angels seek to regain their master's lost diadem. So
Mm.
that is an odd corollary for it. The moment the closer you get to it, that sense of yeah of the opposition yeah always becomes a thing. Um,
Yeah. I never realized that the title to that book meant that, but now I get it. So that creates much more context. You know, creates Crusade Against the Grail. So it seems like you and Hamilton White have experienced that force. I think you guys did a video talking about that. They're talking about that there's kind of a force that's, you know, that you're at odds with when it comes to the work you're
yeah,
doing.
basically that's what made us friends.
Mm.
is we realized the same nebulous force and the same people were trying to kill us, which
Yeah.
made us friends.
It
I
creates
mean, there's
camaraderie. Yeah.
it's insane, but there's something now like I believe there's seven dead connected to the first season of Lost Relics of the Knights Templar. So
Oh,
that
wow.
first season of that History Channel show is starting to develop a body count similar to the tomb of Tutankhamun. Like the curse of the pharaoh or Tutankhamun, it's all coincidental. So all
Oh,
the
yeah.
deaths are like suicide or or mostly cancer. But at the same time, given that me and Ham are close to the only ones left standing from that particular season, we've kind of taken a step closer together because we've become aware that there's some other counterforce which is well dug in, which seems to not like that material being streamed, being on the internet. And I imagine that's because it challenges the orthodox view in some way. But we're private individuals, so I guess another part of it was that on your own, it's easy to imagine you're insane
Yes.
because, yeah,
Mm.
you start to think, "No, I'm paranoid. That can't actually be happening." Then stuff like UNESCO turning around and insisting that the C word be removed from signage and things
Mm.
all come
Yeah.
as signs that actually yes, it is happening.
Yes.
It's not just my paranoia. There is a counter force which is seemingly trying to put this inconvenient history back in the box again. Airbrush over it, presumably discredit anyone who's tried to tell the story.
Mm. Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to touch on before we go, definitely and that force, I think a lot of us feel it in different ways. You guys feel it very, very directly, but I think anybody who's part of the gang, feels it. So I definitely are not crazy. I think it affects us all in different ways, but we're all paddling against that very real current. And now we're seeing it. You talk about cartoon characters. I mean, sorry, I mean the comic book characters, like our world leaders and many events that are going on. I mean, they're comic book characters. Like you look at our Secretary of War. That's a comic book character. I mean,
Yeah,
straight up.
totally.
Yeah, it's on the surface right now. It's like, yeah, yeah. Um, so there's two movies. One thing Steel Donkeys, where I look forward to seeing that, and I love that maybe this genre is returning. I think things are. I'm probably the worst pessimist. I get a lot of people give me a hard time. Um, but I'm not a total pessimist, and I don't dislike everybody. But I'm very much a realist. But I really do see second part of Fire Horse here. I just see a lot of good things happening. Yeah, I see it. I feel the quest is very real.
Oh
Everyone's
yeah.
got their path. And
Right.
yeah,
And
go ahead.
generally, I like to believe the forces of good will prevail.
Yeah.
I'm not a pessimist either. I do like to believe that somehow, truth and magic will prevail.
I think so. And because I'm not a person I know you see it when you believe it, people say I'll see it when I believe it, but I think you need to believe it first and then you see it. But I see it and I believe it. So it's good that this is all coming together and we're all feeling that counter force, but that counter force seems to be losing that tug of war right now. I think it's lost its footing, but it doesn't mean it won't take a few of us out before this is over. Um, but new stuff that I'm seeing, smaller movies. I'm not sure if you've seen them or I imagine you've heard of them, but there's two movies that are very popular right now in here, maybe worldwide, I don't know, but I know here in the States, and they're made just by, I think, first time directors, like Obsession. And
Obsession,
then
yeah, I saw Obsession, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and then there's another one like back rooms, and they seem to be like first shot, first tries by people who haven't done such things in the past, and they were, low budget, I guess. I don't really know all the details, but they're not from big production houses, I don't think, and it's kind of rejuvenating. What I'm seeing here is it's rejuvenating people's interest in movies in theater itself.
Well, thus far, Steel Donkeys has been kind of my easy rider, which is a crazy thing. But in a similar way to Dennis Hopper on Easy Rider, we just started shooting it last year. We didn't have any money, but
Yeah.
we just started shooting anyway, and which enabled me to put together the main cast out of people who actually deserved to be in the movie, as opposed to people who had to be in the movie and stuff. So
Hmm.
it started in a very organic way, and as opposed to being first timers who are making our coming out of the out of TikTok and out of YouTube, like the kids who are coming up now. This is a last stand by a bunch of old timers. This is myself and Cynthia Rothrock and KK Downing and a bunch of
Hmm.
survivors from a previous
Yeah.
era who are effectively just making it. It's a little exercise in magical realism. It wouldn't have gotten greenlit or commissioned or developed by any existing system. So
Hmm.
the fact that it's just spontaneously happening is been very exciting to me.
Yeah.
And we started shooting it at the Bloodstock Festival last year. Shot all night for each night that we were at the festival, and I was not only had a very good time, was amazed at how good people are at being themselves.
Hmm.
It just basically folk that you could never find in central casting or in a normal movie. Have we attempted to recreate that on a soundstage? So it's grown as a strange little underground project.
Yeah.
Um, in an ideal world, I'd love to premiere it in like a big tent at say at Bloodstock or one of the big festivals. If we could even distribute the thing outside of the normal film distribution system, that would be even more pleasant. Let's see where it lands. I imagine it's going to end up streaming somewhere eventually, and it'll sooner or later we'll have to sell it to the seven-headed beast of the mass media.
Maybe it'll be the poison pill, for the mass media. Um,
Yeah,
well,
I've always wanted to be the blood clot, and that would eventually go to the brain of the animal and give the thing a fucking stroke. But
that's a lofty ideal. I like it. I can get behind that,
yeah,
Yeah. Oh
data
God.
equivalent to the blood clot. Yeah,
Yeah, the blood clot that kills the mainstream media, that kills the yeah. Well, it reminds me. I like that. A steel donkey is Richard Stanley's Easy Rider. So I like that. Well, the time is right. The time is right, and I think it's all going to line up and work quite well. For some reason, when you're talking about it, it reminds me of the Iron Maiden song, "Klansman." When the time is right, and I think it is.
yeah, and that's what it's all about. It's the same as, I mean, like any drug consumed on the spot when it's offered to you is always better. Just like a hot cross bun, if you eat it in the street while it's still warm, is is always
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
And the analogy to Easy Rider is we got pushed into this because but the same thing happened on both movies. Like Easy Rider, they wanted to have the characters going to the Mardi Gras. They didn't get the money in time, and Mardi Gras was happening. So it's like, okay, we got to shoot. Let's shoot. Let's just go to the Mardi Gras. We don't have any money, and we'll shoot what we can. That kind of forced them into shooting the movie, into getting started, and then they managed to get the wherewithal to shoot the rest of it. And exactly the same silly thing happened. We were planning to shoot the movie at Bloodstock. We didn't get the money. The festival came anyway, so we thought, damn it, we've just got to get started, regardless of the fact that whether we've got funding or not. That yeah, force the thing into existence. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
always better to basically act than not to act. It's better to be you know damned for the things you do than the things you don't.
Yeah, we only regret what we don't do. Yeah, strike the iron donkey when it's hot.
Yeah, don't do it. No choice.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
clearly the way.
yeah. Well, I've had you for quite a while. I mean, I definitely appreciate, catching up. I just had this something just told me called an intuition that it was a good time to chat again and catch up. And I saw your post on Facebook. That's one of the things that really triggered me to contact you. And I really appreciate you coming on and catching us up on what's going on. And a strange thing happened right before we came on. I was walking down the hall here in the house, and the light turned on. So you talk about like that force against us. Well, there's also, of course, of
Oh,
course that,
absolutely.
yeah, of course that force that is with us too. The force that is behind us is, I think, greater than the force that is against us. And yeah, I'm coming down the hall, and the light clicks on, and I went, "This has got to be right." Because it's not like a light switch. It's a clicky light switch. It can't happen by chance. And the light went on, and it's in the room. And I went, oh, I guess we had to. I guess the lighting need to be adjusted. So I think everything syncs very powerfully. And I definitely appreciate you know, your time. You hung out with us here, and everything can be found really at the official richardstanley.com, I think. And if somebody searches Facebook for Richard Stanley, they'll find you. Um, is there anywhere else people can look for you? And also anything you might want to cover at all that we may have missed?
I mean, beyond buy the book
Yes,
because
buy the book.
not
You need it.
not enough folk have read Otto Rahn Grail Hunter, and there's about 30 years of research in there, and it's
Yes,
all as true as I understand it to be. I tried very hard to fact check the thing. I mean, since the book has been published, I've more data has come to light,
of course.
which
Yeah.
is almost inevitable. I mean, particularly regarding the Nazis' interest in Iceland.
Hmm.
Strangely enough, enough internal memos have come out to indicate that Himmler thought they could just take Iceland and turn it into an SS state. It's kind of almost the same as Trump decided to take Greenland.
Yeah.
They had a very similar thing, and they're very arrogant about it in their internal
Yeah.
memos. In a very similar way, like Himmler and Wolf are saying, "Oh well, no one really lives in Iceland. They'll be happy to be under SS control and things." They kind of have no sense that there's actually an Icelandic population. So I think that the trip Otto made up there in 1936 was probably part of a hypothetical SS land grab as much as anything else that then never actually quite landed. And,
Wow.
but yeah, little silly things like that. But yeah, read the book because it is true. And it's a slice of occult history.
Very much
And
so. Yeah. And
yeah,
yeah. And the path, every book is, a path through it. And so it'll definitely lead you to other things you're going to have interest in that will, spark your interest. And if a person likes Audible, the Audible version is outstanding, really well read. So if a person's an Audible fan, definitely it's there in Audible. And it reads well. It works really well in Audible. So if you get the physical copy, you're good to go. You're gonna be missing out on a lot of the pictures and such if you only get it on Audible. So if you like Audible, get both. Get the physical copy and get Audible, and don't miss all the important and amazing images that Richard Stanley's research has found and shared.
and best of all, go to the places. It's
Yes,
impossible to go to some of those places and not be changed by them. I defy anyone to spend the night at the full moon on the top of the Pug of Monster and not come down altered by the experience. There's still places in this world where aren't yet fully fenced off and yeah, under the control of yeah, Big Brother or whatever it is. But I would
yeah.
strongly recommend actually walking the walk and yeah, checking some of those places for oneself. I tried in the book to reproduce as many maps and lists of places as possible. I haven't had time to visit all of those places. And there's a section I think where Ran is requesting permission to continue his inquiries, and he just is writing off different stone circles and different locations most of which I have not had the opportunity to actually visit myself. So I like to think of it as a work in progress and a jumping off point for yeah, other personal expeditions. I mean, I've
Yeah.
never
Mm.
never even visited Otto's favorite place.
Oh,
Oh
where's
yeah,
that?
which
Wow.
he said the most beautiful place in the world was somewhere called Lauren's Rose Garden in Bozen in the Tyrolean Alps.
Wow.
And that this is to do with Lauren, the king of the little people, or the king of the Alps, and this rose garden, which is apparently is the top of a mountain that lights up red at sunset, is not something I've seen. And given how beautiful so many of the other places are that I visited, I'm sure it's absolutely spectacular. But
Wow.
I haven't done the whole Italian trail that's there. I've got only a very limited idea about what Otto achieved in Italy. And I also think that there's a whole parallel Italian Cathar history,
Oh,
which
wow. Mm.
is not really touched on in this book, which it would probably be a lifetime's research for someone. There's
Yeah.
still yeah, genuine mysteries out there.
There are genuine mysteries out there. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Follow the mystery. That's wonderful. Well, thanks for
Yeah,
bringing life to life. That's what the world needs right now. It needs more life. It needs more mystery, pursuit of the mystery, you know.
and
Um,
Gnosis, which is direct pursuit of the
yes,
mystery, except no intermediaries. Check it out for yourself. Demand a one-on-one relationship between yourself and God, or the mystery, or whatever it is, and accept no intermediaries, and don't take anyone's word for it.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's no better place to leave it than that at all. Wow. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being so gracious with your time and hanging out with us for a little while.
Absolute pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure.
All
I'll
right. Take
catch you later.
care. Bye bye.
Take care, amigo.